everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? We are excited for another great episode, and this is episode 235. We're going to bring you the Masters class today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into a lot of details, a lot of things that help you grow as martial artists, and some hot topics that we've been talking about this week. So, what's up, Will? Hope you're doing great. Also, we want to thank Virtual Fight Tour for always sticking by us and sponsoring us, being a great part of our show and the Martial Arts Center Network. And in September, we get the return. We've been almost 2 years in the making of the return of USA versus Europe. So it's going to be exciting.
I hope it to be a big thing. You know, it really kind of looks like it's been, it's kind of like the fighters tournament. Like they want to be at an event like that, which is really exciting. So I hope all the top guys are there, because it certainly sounds like everybody wants to be around an event like this. I'm excited. This is an event where I'm telling you, if I was still fighting, I would just be there. You got to go, because when it's brought up like this, like, hey, it's USA versus Europe, like you want to be around that, right? You want to be a part of that in some way. Maybe you're not on the team, but you want to be there. Maybe you're not quite at that caliber of fighting, or you're kind of close. You're like, oh, I've beaten one of those guys before. I could be them. You want to be there. You want to be in that building and watch that event. So this would be really cool.
Definitely. So big shout out to Jesse Ray. Also, another thing, guys, the new Kappa Facebook page just came out. So go ahead and follow the Kappa page. So the Coaches and Players Association, that just came out this week. So go ahead and start following that, and more information will be on there soon. Hey, Jeannie, how are you?
Every time you say Kappa, I always think of Capicola, right? And I'm like, I would love some Capicola right now. Every single time you say Kappa, I'm like, I want some Capicola.
I don't know. You see, the thing is, I don't even know what that is.
Stop. It's an Italian cured meat. That's what it is. It's like a prosciutto. You know prosciutto?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like that, in the sense that it's an Italian cured meat. It's like Supersad, something like that.
But anyway. Say it again.
Capicola.
Capicola?
Right. Did you ever watch The Sopranos?
I think I'm mishearing what you're saying. That's my issue. Say it again. Capo what?
Capicola.
Okay. I don't know. You're breaking up to me, so I can't understand.
Oh, okay. So, and The Sopranos. Did you ever watch The Sopranos?
Just a couple episodes.
Okay. So they always used to talk about, we want the gabagool. The gabagool, that's what it was, Capicola that they were talking about. They were talking about Capicola, right?
Okay.
So, but yeah, now all I want is Supersad and Capicola. Yeah, Capicola. Okay,
Capicola. All right. I'm thinking you're talking about a drink. That's why I'm confused by it. Like, it sounds like you're talking about cola. I thought it was a type of cola, like Kappa Cola. See, Jeannie thinks the same. No. That's why I'm like, what the heck?
But here's what's funny, because I told you just before we got on that, and I told you I might mention this, that I'm doing this.
Go ahead.
I'm trying this all meat diet. It's the funniest thing, and it sounds retarded, right? It's probably not a politically correct word to say. I'm sorry. Right. It sounds ridiculous to just say, I'm just going to eat meat.
Listen, Alex, we'll just say you're a comedian today. Then you can say that word.
I suppose. All right. But anyway, so I see a buddy of mine. He's a fireman. He's always been kind of like, he's thick. He's a thick dude. And I see him, and he's like visibly in better shape. And I'm like, don't even greet, don't even say hello. I'm like, whoa, okay, spill the beans. What's going on? Like, it's literally like, just okay. clearly we need to talk about this. It's kind of like that. And he's like, yeah, this is really hard. And I'm prepared for him to tell me all about this like personal training thing. And he's like, yeah, all I eat is I just eat meat. I'm like, huh? What? He's like, yeah, I'm not working out, so that's not it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I just eat meat. And yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm 2 days in. It's not easy. It is easier to not eat any food because when you're hungry, you're like, well, I can't eat anything. So just gonna deal with it and block it out of your mind. And that's just kind of the way it's gonna go. Right. But when you can eat food and the food you would go for, you realize, oh wow, I eat snack foods quite a bit. Okay.
Right.
All I want is chips and salsa right now. And then your kids, and then my daughter's like, Mom, can I get the crackers with the cheese in them? And you're like, oh my gosh, why do we have this stuff in our house?
Right.
So then this morning, I got to work from home. So I'm at home, watching my youngest because the other two are at school. And I'm like, I need to go get something. And I'm basically eating a charcuterie board without the cheeses. I'm just eating the little salamis, the little soprasads. That's all I'm eating. I'm like, this is crazy, right? I eat meat, and then it's like, okay, now what am I gonna? I've snacked for a little bit. I want an actual meal, but you're not ever gonna get it. It's so freaking nutty. But anyway, so now I want some soprasad. I want some prosciutto. I want some capicola.
Dude, anytime that you have like an elimination diet, yeah, I mean it's hard at first because you're thinking, oh, that's easy. I don't even like that stuff anyway, and then you realize, or I really like that. Let me just eat that. But then you realize the convenience of it all, right? And that's where it gets hard, especially with the type of lives that we live that are always very hectic and busy.
I went to get a coffee this morning. And my wife was like, no, you can't have cream. I'm like, why can't I have milk? She goes, no, it's just meat. I'm like, okay, but I'm not drinking.
Right.
But come on now. She's like, no, you're not supposed to. And I'm like, whatever. I got black coffee. It don't matter to me. So
that's funny. All right. So we got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a fun show. We titled this master's class as we're going to talk about different things. And again, I've been kind of teeing you guys up on if you guys been looking at my Facebook page with some of the questions. But one thing that we're going to start with, all right, is this is one I asked today. What is your favorite technique? And I think I put favorite technique to execute. Okay. Meaning that it could be a technique that I didn't want to say perform because that just makes it seem like it's only forms. It's anything. It could be, you could say, hey, my favorite technique for fighting is this. My favorite technique for forms is this. And the other thing is actually sometimes your favorite technique for you to throw is one that a lot of people don't even see you do because it may not be your best technique, right?
Oh, yeah. I think for a lot of people, if they're honest with themselves, their favorite technique is probably not one they throw. Like if they're like, let's say for fighters, okay?
Right.
If their favorite technique, if they're a good fighter, if they just have one that they love, that they're like, oh, I want to be so good at this, but they know better than to do it a lot because they're like, I'm not that good, right? They don't. It doesn't mean it's not their favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So, guys, insiders, let us know right now. What are your favorite techniques? And is it one that you throw often? Is it one that you do in your forums or whatever?
I'm curious to hear yours.
People tend to overthink simple questions, and he said, "Yes, I saw that post." Yeah.
What? I'm curious to hear yours, like, because I'm thinking like, ooh, my favorite technique of Jeff Doss, and there's a few of them that come to mind. Obviously, in performances that I think.
Okay, tell your favorite techniques of mine, I guess.
Of yours.
Yeah.
I think the twist kick hold is one of my favorites.
I think a twist kick has to be in there. I think it's probably the move that in a lot of ways I'm more known for now than ever. And I would say it is probably my favorite, but probably my most favorite is an axe kick.
Really?
An axe kick, and maybe that's not just for form. That's probably more for fighting. Actually, I love dropping an axe kick. You know,
Yeah.
the other favorite technique, especially growing up, was a pop 720. Like a
Okay. So
standing.
I
720.
appreciate where you're going because you're being honest and you're not
Right.
trying to be like, oh yeah, man, when I did that, that gainer switch, like
Right.
let's go, or that double cork, into the split. Like, no. Let's be real. We spent the majority of that, well, not for you, but a good chunk of our times pre 2010. So let's go in that time, right?
Right.
If we're honest with ourselves, it wasn't like a double cork to to something else, to a combo.
Right.
They were probably singular moves. Pop 720. What would you? I liked the double, right?
Me too. I like that one too.
I think I would have rather have done that than the pop 720. Were you ever able to pull off like a pop 1080?
Yeah, just not
I never got that.
Yeah, not consistently. And honestly, this is something that here's again, we're talking about the master's class. Here's a couple things. People, when you want to really start getting your pop kicks better, again, start from the ground up. Stop doing the setup. Work everything standing. So stand still and work on doing it standing first. Start working that first. Because what happens is that you start working on the hop step and you over rotate. You have no idea where you're actually trying to hit. A lot of people that do that, you see they spin and they're kicking and not looking at the same spot because they're not spotting where they're at, right? It's the same thing if you're trying to work your spin kick, your spin hook kick. Again, start with the ground up. Think of everything from the ground. So if you want to work your pop 720, work spinning twice on the ground and then do a hook kick, right? Yeah, exactly. Don't under rotate or over rotate a difficult technique. So I think when you learn how to do it standing, like for me, once I started doing that, it got way better. If I did it standing or even with the pop step, right? Like at one point I used to do, huh?
That's how I learned how to do it.
What, with the hop?
Nope, standing from fighting stance.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Fighting stance, because, and this, I'll attribute this to my instructors at the time not being as knowledgeable at acro kicking techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a 360 was the wildest thing they could have imagined, right?
Right.
They could not have fathomed anything beyond that. So everything that they did was from a fighting stance position, right? So like we would do just like in class, just like you're doing front kicks and round kicks, like we would be doing, hand techniques, twist punch, and then like, okay, spin hook kick, bang. All right, now jump spin hook kick, boom, land in your fighting stance still. And then we'd be doing it with wheel kicks or crescent kicks. All right. And then now it's like, okay, do two. And like the first time you hear that, like do two, like, are you out of your mind? Like, what are you talking about? But we also have been bred, and this is so funny. I was talking, to my kids about this today as well. But when we were in class, and every school's culture is a little different, possibly for my students, and this is partly my fault. I always wanted to allow them the ability to have dialogue with me, to have them go, I don't understand. I always wanted for them to be able to say, I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you explain that? Because I also understand who I am, and that I don't always communicate everything the best way. However, I was not really afforded that opportunity. And maybe that's why I wanted my students to do that, because there was no dialogue. right? The instructor said 2 spins, kick, just do it. As soon when he says go, before the O is out, you should be gone, right?
Right.
And so it was like, all right, this is just what we do now, right? Like from the day my daughter, when she first started class, when I taught her how to do one slide kick,
Yeah.
right? One slide side kick, I had her slide side kick across 3 rings, right? And I never told her it was hard. So
Right.
she never thought it was hard, right?
Correct.
So now she's been doing karate. It's now like 2 years now. So now she just does it, and she could do it up and down every ring, and she just doesn't understand. She doesn't understand that some people that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yep.
So piggybacking off of what you were saying, like learn how to do it from a pop. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Learn how to do it standing. Learn how to, because I would do it standing, and the most I could do would be I think the most I ever got was 7 in a row, standing.
Damn.
In a row. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then I used to do it to where I got the double 720 standing. So standing kick from the standing position. So all because of that, working that. So, all right. So Connor kind of brings a different element to this, which I actually like, because I do think we need to talk about actual self-defense if you've been in a situation like this. So he said actual self-defense, he feels like the side kick, it stuns the attacker, mostly ending the conflict, becomes more of a reflex rather than I'm setting up for it. It's just a natural reaction. So thank you, Sensei Kevin Nobles. Thank you for watching and responding. So for you, like what's maybe a technique that you've kind of feel like as far as any real situation? I know for me, it's been a front kick actually.
All right, hang on. I got to pause for a second. Remember what I just talked about with my daughter? Apparently, she's supposed to be sleeping right now.
Oh.
But my wife is in bed with her. They're watching the podcast. My wife asks me and says, Louisa says she does understand that it's hard for people to slide sidekick. Louisa, go to bed. Awesome. How's she going to chime in on the show without chiming in on the show?
I love it.
All right, sorry, I cut you off.
So yeah,
Louisa,
no. For me, I think a front kick is I've had situations where people would try to come at me, and I've had to just push them away with the front kick, and then they've kind of just got frustrated and just not really just kind of gave up, right? So this was in school, so bullies and stuff, right? But and even in college situations. So to me, that's always an easy one because I still have my weapons in front of me from the front kick, and I can keep the space very well. The side kick, of course, is meant for that. I kind of, again, though, if you kind of over rotate, you give your backup right in a real situation. It's great for
totally approach.
Say again.
I have a totally different mentality to this.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I think highly skilled martial artists talk them out of how highly skilled they are in these areas.
True.
Like that's so true. Much. And they're so good and so skilled and so talented at this. Some of the most talented martial artists in the world. And they think, yeah, but we can't do that in a street fight. Let me see if I understand this. All right?
Yeah.
You could hit me, someone who is prepared for a technique that skilled. You could get me, even though I might know what's coming. And I do know how to defend certain things like that. But him, who's never seen that, has no idea it's coming, has no idea what to do about it. And if you did hit him, you could probably hit him again. You would second guess yourself to hit him. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Right?
No, that's true. And I get that. I'm not saying that I'm second guessing myself. I just think that I like certain things. You know what I mean? Like I've hit someone with a skip side kick. Say again.
I think you could sidekick someone right in between the eyes and end it.
Oh yeah, and I've done that before too. But what I'm saying,
stop! You've done that before?
Yeah.
Okay, spill it.
So yeah, it was just something similar to that. Like,
I
let's
didn't see this
see, this
coming.
was so long ago. This was I think I was like 12 or something like that. And actually, I was younger than that. I was like 10. And so I think there was like 3 guys that kind of jumped me outside, and so I kind of picked the middle, and I just went a side kick right down the middle, hit one, and then the other 2 kind of bear hugged me and stuff, and I had to get out of that. But yeah, I hit that first one with a side kick. It was nice.
I hit a guy. I hit a
And
guy
then,
once.
I mean, listen, I even remember like the silly thing, like maybe it's because of how I remember it now, but it almost reminds me of stuff you would see in like 3 Ninjas or something crazy like that, right? Like where I had the 2 guys like grabbing my hands, you know what I mean? Like, but that was literally a thing when I was like in elementary school. Like, and I had
How
to like
about
side
this
kick
one?
one, front kick another, pull them inside, and they hit each other. Like, wait, like
Please
that
tell me
literally happened in real life. Okay.
that's amazing. Jeff Doss just got 10 cool points. Got literal street cred. That's cool. What is the craziest move you've ever done in real life? The one that's like, okay, people just don't do this, but I actually did it.
You mean in self-defense or just? I mean, I haven't had that many fights.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no! I don't know if I shared this before. All right, I didn't do
We
it
didn't
on
see
it,
this.
but no, we didn't see this coming. But so I remember I was at a party in college, right? And we were down in the basement, and a couple of guys were trying to team up on a friend of mine, and I was trying to end it, and no one would like stop, right? And everyone was just arguing, and I was just like, you know what, quit it. And I just round kicked the light and hit the light. Okay, so this is a very low ceiling because I'm not that tall. So, but I kicked the light straight up and hit it and stopped everything. Okay.
Dude, that's like out of a movie.
Yeah, it was cool.
You were like Larry Lamb's character at that
Right.
point. I have a thing, Will. I do have a thing. I can't say I did a vertical round kick and kicked the light. That did not happen. I do have a thing though. So it's kind of like your sidekick thing. So I did do a flying sidekick. I mean, I ran down. All right, so here's what happened. Okay, it was a similar type of setup and situation, although it was in a hotel, right? And this was years ago, right? So anyway, it was like New Year's Eve, and so this is actually a really smart idea. What a bunch of friends did is they go, let's all go to this hotel, but let's all get hotel rooms on the 3rd floor. I don't know why I picked 3rd. Clearly, we should have picked first, right? There was 3 floors in this hotel. It was kind of a cheap hotel, whatever. And we get every single room on the 3rd floor. So we tell people like, hey, if you want to go, just go get a hotel or a room on this floor, and then we're all just going to leave the doors open because now we know each other, we trust each other, we're golden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think's going to happen? Someone who's kind of like a friend of a friend or finds their way up and walks up, and then here they are, and everybody left the doors open and they were going from room to room. So here's what I see is I see down the end of the hall, I'm kind of walking by, and my buddy Eric, he's all mad because somebody took I was going to date it right here. Somebody took his CDs out of his CD book, right? This tells you right there. Somebody took his CD.
That you know how many fights and arguments I've seen over this
happened over the CD books.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
CDs, man.
I'm trying to remember what it was. And if I could date it even more, I think it was like an Outcast CD. All right.
Yes. I'd be mad over
that. So anyway, so he's mad, and somebody took like his gloves or something like that, some CDs, and there's these guys, and it's clearly like, oh, we can tell we don't know these two. So I'm like, I go up to the guy, and I'm like, you gotta give this stuff back. And he's like, ain't nobody gonna do nothing to me. So I'm like, all right. I walk down to the other end of the hallway, and I'm just standing there, and no one was moving. Nobody's paying attention to me, and I don't know, 20 yards away. All right, and full sprint, I just go, and I'm just running, and now nothing could possibly stop me. All right, and then I probably launched from like 2 rooms away before I get to the guy. I'm in the air. It's like I'm like Jason Scott Lee in Dragon, like just flying with my leg in the air. Bah! And I bust the guy. Bam! Right? The guy didn't have the CDs.
Oh.
My buddy left him in the car. We don't find that out till the next day. And now I'm the one who looked like a Power Ranger, flying through the air in a hotel room. Oh, man, I felt so bad.
Oh, man.
I looked cool in the moment. But I was that guy. But who did I look cool to? I looked cool to a guy who flipped out over some CDs that were stolen, but not really. And then some guy who just got his face kicked in. Like, so that was such a jerk move. So I can't even say it was in self-defense. I thought it was, but it wasn't.
So, all right, let's get back to sport karate. We're going to do a quick thing on this. How many? No, I love this. We're having a great time. How many times have you seen someone hit someone with a flying sidekick in sport karate in points fighting?
Oh, I've actually done it. I've done it twice in one tournament.
Oh, yes, I remember. Was that the bluegrass one?
No. That was blue belt. No, those are 360s. Those are 360 rounds.
Oh, yeah, 360 hook. Yeah, that's right.
No, I was a blue belt. I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I was doing. It was one of those things where it was like, I don't know. I didn't have strategy. Nobody was coaching me. It was just like I just like fought people in class. I was like, try a hook kick. That seems to work. Let's try it again. Okay, it doesn't work. We always do this move in class. I don't know why nobody ever told us to try it. We do it every day. Let's just try it. I freaking did it. Scored.
So,
if you ever do that, like if you're in an underbelt division, no one's gonna know what the heck you're doing. Everyone's just gonna freeze.
I know people do it all the time, and it's crazy. It always drives me nuts in the underbelt stuff. But here's the deal: I've seen it. So this happened at my tournament, and this was high level fighters. This is the end of a fight. El Jabba versus Brian Young. Okay, and Brian Young is winning, and El Jabba.
Is there a video of this fight?
There's a video, but I can't find it anymore. I think Blitzkick had it, and I think they took
right. I think I remember watching this.
Yes, and the last move was a back leg flying sidekick right to Brian Young's head.
Yes,
and that got it to where he was still down by 1 point, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing ever. We're like, whoa, wait, what? It was impressive. All right. Leave it to Jabba to do something impressive like that.
I think I saw Jason Borelli hit Ryan McGriff with a flying sidekick like that. Like that, like one like that, where you just pull through with your back leg and then you just in the air and you just kick them. Because like that, like when it's Jason, you kind of freeze because you're like, all right, something's gonna happen clearly.
Yeah,
I need to prepare for what that is because you could be doing a corkscrew, right? He totally because he's done it, right? So you're like, then all of a sudden there's this high kick in your face, and you're like, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, true. All right, so that's been fun. All right, so here's the deal on this one. Let's go to, and we'll get to this in a second. But what? All right. What is a move or a thing? Let's think of people. Let's start with me because it's easy to do that, right? Because then we can go to other people because you and I talk about this. All right. So here's one thing for me. I think when people think of Jeff Doss, what's the first thing they think of? Like what is someone's best technique or best aspect of their martial arts ability or forms or fighting, but no one talks about it. They talk about the other thing, right? Again, for me, I would say it's my kicking, right? Everyone talks about, right?
Yeah.
But I would be honest with you, a lot of times when people say, "Oh, I love your kicks," "Oh, I loved your kick," I'm like, it kind of drives me nuts sometimes because I know I have some other values as well that are just as good, right? So, what do you think? Well, let's go with that for each other, and then we'll go in there. We can talk about it on our own, or we can pick each other's up. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen you fight, but
If you saw me fight now, it wouldn't be like you saw me before. So,
well, yeah, but at the same time, you know what? I think this is something I'll never forget. And I don't remember who put this out, but I remember you talking about just the small details of fighting, right? And how literally like the difference from you getting hit and not getting hit is like this much.
exactly.
And how, so I think your mindset and your fighting IQ is something that people don't talk about as much. I think people, of course, think of you as an offensive kicker, right?
Yeah, checks out. They probably should.
Yeah, so I think that is one thing, what about, let's hear it as well, comments for myself, for Alex, also some other people that you are thinking of, like, again, we'll get to this in a second. Go ahead and say what you think as far as for me. What are some other things besides kicking that people should or you think of?
Well, besides kicking, I would say your kama skills. That's my, you do a lot of weapons. That's my favorite one you do.
Wow. Okay. I didn't expect that.
You didn't expect that? Really? I think your kama is my favorite. It is my favorite weapon that you do.
Why do you think that? What is it that's different about my kamas than anyone else? This is going to really.
I just think it's so clean. I think your best performance of all of your performances, the one that is the best is when you get to do open, creative, or extreme style forms, like CMX style forms. That's my favorite. And when you do weapons, I feel like when you do kamas, I feel like you get to do that and you get a lot more creativity that comes into that as well. Right. And maybe it's also this. Maybe it's also because of why people say, like, "Oh, I love your kicks. I love your kicks." But maybe it's also the state of everyone else's kicks. Like they say that about your kicks because I don't really have anybody else to say that about. Right.
Right.
No, there are some good.
There are a lot. It's coming back. I really think it's coming back. There are a lot. I think it's the problem is there's not as many guys that do it. Right.
Yes. Yeah. But hopefully that's going to change. All right.
Yeah, there's some young guys that. So I had a couple parents tell me, is like, you know what, like I have my young son who's competing, and all of these people who are trying to make up his forms are taking away his kicks, and I'm not going to let it happen. He needs to keep that. That makes him stand out. So we're seeing that as well. So.
There's some people where it's like, maybe you should cut that out, right? Like Shaquan Parsons, right? I think that's a person where it's like, you do have a dang near vertical kick, right? But you go so fast, and the rest of your form, we literally have to have our necks peeled back, looking up. Like, I think by you stopping to do that one kick, maybe it's just placed wrong, or I think that's probably what it is. It's not choreographed and in its best placement, because I hate telling people you probably shouldn't kick, but the way it's looking right now, you probably shouldn't kick, right?
Yeah.
Do a standing kick. Same like when Sammy Vasquez would just do in his form. I'm like, don't even do a standing kick, Sammy. Just go do 11 gainers in a row, right? Yeah. Which was unbelievable. What
so like, well, we're just like, what is it that another thing that stands out with competitors, right? So like, let's say, let's go into fighting, okay? And we talked about this, and we can make this comparison, like people, Bailey's best thing, a lot of people would probably say it's his step in. Raymond's best thing was his blitz. But then, you know what? Their spin kicks were catching everybody and are. And, like that's becoming their number 2, which is almost becoming their number 1. You know what I mean? And I think that is what I'm trying to say with this question, right? Because if you're only good at one thing, that only gets you so far. You got to have a number 2 or a number 3 that's going to. Huh?
Well, I said you said it. And I said this when Ray was always very good and talented, and I think through the 90s, the late 90s, people looked at Ray and were like, "Whoa, that guy could be something," right? And then I think when people would kick at him, it would be like occasionally he would just create a highlight reel out of him, or they would catch him, right? Because he would wait to see it, and then he would have an answer, right? Or his movement wasn't the same. The techniques stayed the same. As soon as he went, got it, there was no catching him. It was over. He had an answer for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I said, look at the techniques. He really had like 4 to 5 techniques that he threw, okay? And yes, one of them was a blitz, okay? And then he had a defensive punch. He had a defensive side kick. He had a defensive turn side kick.
Yep.
All right, spinning back kick, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, his most dangerous one in the NBL was his cartwheel kick.
Okay,
bro. He hit.
Okay, so let's say that. No, that's fine. No, let's say
he
that.
hit some people. He hit some people like 2 to 3 times with a cartwheel kick, bro. Like that's 9 points.
Okay, but how many of those techniques are just like nothing's happening? He's just creating all of it on his own. It's the one thing. It's the blitz, right?
Yeah.
All the other ones require you to do something, right?
Yep.
So he just developed those 3 or 4 other techniques. And he's like, no one will touch me. I have an answer for you. And I'm just going to make this one technique incredibly, I'm going to be the best in the world at it, right? I will be the best. And then when you try to get me, I've already got answers for you. I know I'm simplifying it way too much. Everybody listening is like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, because there's also this, and then there's what if it's an open stance. I understand that I'm simplifying it way too much. Because of the interest of time and semantics here, I'm going to simplify it like that. So, well, I think the fighters today, I think there's so many more skilled fighters. It'd be harder to do that against someone today because everybody's great at everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, dude, just look at the newest video that Barely put out like yesterday. Like the freaking jumps. Oh my God. Like he was going to hit the guy with the jump defensive spinning back kick, right?
Yeah.
And he noticed midair that it was going to be blocked. So then he switched legs and hit him with the round kick in the air and hit him in the head. Like he did this in Scotland over the weekend or over the week. Like it's just insane. Like the skill level, right?
And here's the crazy thing about us in martial arts is we've all had a time where we've all had like time, right? Where we pulled off something kind of like that.
Right.
The difference between the 2 people we mentioned, and it's not exclusive to these 2, is that they could do that almost any time.
Exactly.
There's a big difference between me saying, I remember there was the ones when I did this, when I did the 3, and then I pulled it, and then you should have everybody lost their mind. Oh, okay. I can't think of a second time, right?
No. Exactly.
That's the difference. But that's what's so great about the sport. Everybody's done it at some point. That's why you gotta keep competing. You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep doing it. You're gonna take L's. It's just gonna happen. Get out there, do it again, do it again, do it again.
Yeah.
But that guy.
Yeah. Damn. So, yeah. So I think that's just something to think about, and for us as well as fans and as coaches and everyone and just people that love the sport. Look a little deeper than the first thing that stands out. Like look at the complete package, right? I think that's especially when we see when we're thinking about people in there, just where they're at in the sport. Again, someone like Esteban Tremblay, we think of his tricking, and his releases and even his smoothness that he has when he does his bow and everything. But if you really look at it, dude, the explosiveness of that guy is insane, right? That dude is strong, right? And I think that's something that isn't talked about enough, is his strength.
Well, I agree with that. There's a lot of stuff out there that these competitors have that we talk about, but there's other things that's I know. And Will kind of said it best when he said, "Don't put people in a box."
Don't put them in a box.
I agree with that, but I'm also going to stand on my statement. Just prior to that was, listen, these guys out here today can do everything. If you only have a few things that you can do really well, I'm not saying you can't win, but it's going to be a lot harder. All right. It's going to be quite a bit harder. Like if you're a fighter, let's just bring it back to the fight, and you can't kick, you don't really have a good kick, you're going to be exposed, right?
Yeah.
Those days of I'm fast, I'm strong, I'm shifty, I can move. The distance is something different now, man. Everybody can do every move, right? So and just the same thing the other way. You can't just say my leg's better than everyone.
No.
Go try that against Tyreek Saint. He'll make you have your leg up for every second of the entire match. That leg's going to get tired real quick.
Yep, definitely. All right, so now we're going to go into let's see. All right, overdone moves in CMX forms. Let's get into it. All right. So I talked about this week, just, hey guys, why does almost every form have to end with a shuffle front kick, jump front kick? Or why in 2024 are we still doing the round off flash to the corner? Now, I got some good answers. I got some that were kind of I don't know. I guess they maybe thought that I'm not still involved in the sport and I don't watch this every weekend. I didn't need a whole idea of how a form is set up. I know how all that is. Okay. So yes, I understand. I'm asking this to get more feedback and to actually spark some intelligent conversation between us so we can maybe help everyone with a little bit more creativity, right? Or to really ask
so that they can ask themselves.
Exactly. Now, there were some good ones that said, hey, it's a trick that always looks good and is easy for me when I get tired, right? And I get that. Okay.
Who else gets tired? Anyone judging that form.
And I think a lot of times it's why did you just do a triple full and then now you're going to do a single flash, right? It seems weird to me. Now, if you're going to do a single flash, then why don't you add a little bit of flair to it that makes it different? Grab your back leg, right? Or, do a flying squirrel. Do something a little to do an X out. Why don't people do what happened to X flash? Remember when that was to me, when Gandhi, when Daryl Lewis does round off and he's doing the switch flash, the running in the air that Tirada did. That's insane,
I like the X out that Will Valentine would do when he would start. This kid, the smallest guy in the room, would get literally upside down over the top of the tallest guy in the building. You're like, this is nuts. But when you did the X out, right, it made it even bigger. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a rant, so I'm gonna be quiet for a minute.
You're gonna have a rant after this? It's about another.
That's
Okay.
why I'm gonna
So
try to be quiet.
and here's the thing. I think the one that everyone talks about is the round off flash to the corner.
Yeah.
But really, to me, the shuffle front kick, jump front kick to finish
It's so bad.
has become worse because we could watch someone's form and watch the first half, and then we know exactly what the second half is going to be. It is the round off flash to corner, spin, hand combo, land, shuffle front kick, jump front kick. Maybe they'll do an axe kick, jump front kick. Maybe they'll do a shuffle front kick and a front kick to a different angle, but it's still kind of the same thing. And then they spin into a hand and finish, right?
And then what's worse is when there's another like 15 seconds after the front kick, and you can tell exactly what the hand combo is going to be. It's even worse. You're like,
right.
It's so,
well,
it makes it so bad. You're like, that you just dropped the point.
So this is what I want to know. And I don't want to go too deep in this because I was involved in creating this move, and myself and Daryl Lewis were the first ones that did this in forms, and now people are still doing this. But a lot of people, like when they finish their form, and especially you see this with the kids, they just do a random punch. Sometimes it's not even with a focus. It's just kind of like, just to get them pumped up. But it has like no purpose, and it's really interesting to like, do you know you're doing that? Why do you do that? Does that help you at all? What is the application of that? What is the point of that, right? Could you come up with something a little different than that move, and it's just funny to me that 2000 was when we started doing that it's still kind of a thing, I mean, I'm kind of glad the crotch chop didn't become a thing that everyone started doing, because that was kind of a thing in 97, 98 that like from wrestling, the X.
Who were the wrestlers that did
that? Well, the NWO did it, and then also the DX did that, right? But like I remember like Anthony Atkins doing that in his form, one time, right? And I think Butch did
that was like topical, like to the time. Like when you say Anthony Atkins did that, in 97, 98, that's when those things were happening in pop culture.
Exactly.
If
Let's
something like that were to be happening now, if there's something out there would be happening in pop culture now, and then people were to do that, it would be acceptable and okay and creative.
Well, I mean, about 10 years ago, everyone was doing the dab at the end of their form, so or whatever.
Yeah, but then that was like using Sandstorm as your music for your form. Like
right.
The first month it was really cool, and then after that it was like, oh, everyone in the entire nation is doing it at the same time.
Correct. And more comment. All right, I believe Brett says, I believe no one wants to reward the guy being different, so everyone just does what the norm is. It takes a long time to win if you're unique, and most don't want to take those L's for as long as they're going to be different. And
Brett's right on.
And he's not wrong. Yep. And we've talked about that, and we've seen that. It actually takes more risk to be different than to be difficult.
So, after we did our favorites, I like hit myself in the head. Remember it was like, use your favorites. Use your favorites for that.
Yeah.
And I left Steve Tirada off of mine, and I'm like, how could I be such a Dumbo? Right. Steve Tirada was so ahead of his time because he did things that I believe judges were like, I'm not quite sure what I just saw. Right. And maybe not just judges, the rest of us, we had to go back and be like, what was that? Right. Because this guy, he did like, how many flashes in a row did he do? Was it 5 when he would do the kicks? It was like 4 or 5, wasn't it?
He would switch his legs. Yeah.
He would switch his legs, right? It's absolutely nuts, right? In practice,
it just looked like he was running across the air. It was really cool.
Yeah, in practice, I was able to pull off a switch, right? I never even
Right.
did run a flash in my form ever, right? Which that's a whole other reason why, but well, maybe not a whole other reason, but anyway, I remember looking at Steve at one point. He's going to go corner to corner, right? But he's not going to go round that flash. He started with his back turned towards the corner, and then started with just a back handspring, and then did a jump, hook kick, turn out, roll, and I'm like, this is so different. It's so creative. And I think all of us had to kind of like stop and go, what did we just see? What we saw was really cool. What we saw was great martial arts skill. And it was very extreme, and nobody knew how to judge the thing, right?
Right.
It was so far ahead of this time.
Yeah.
There are some things that guys today are so much better at. I think the cleanliness of their hand combos is unmatched. I think it's better than it's ever been. Right. I do, Jeff.
So I don't think that right now. I think it was maybe 5 years ago.
Okay, that could be the case. That could be the case. Right. I'm trying to be a nice guy before I slam it. Right. So I'm about to slam it. So I've said this before. I think the separation of creative and extreme, when you went from open, it was just, all right, this is a traditional form. It's either Korean or Japanese or Chinese, soft style. And then you're just doing open. It's anything you want to do, it's open. Right, here you go. Right.
Yeah.
I think the moment you tried to police that and go, no, you're going to do creative, and now you have handcuffs, you can't do this. And then this division, you just have to do an extreme move, but you don't have any like thing that's going to disqualify you. So now it's kind of labeled as you can't do anything over the top. That's all we want to see from you is over the top. So now nobody in the extreme did any standing kicks were just basically out the window. Right.
Yeah.
And then everybody in creative was trying to do close to what they did in extreme without being disqualified. Right. And then a lot of times they did. And then extreme, just all the creativity was just gone. It was just gone. Right. So now there is no standing kicking. All right. The combos, wow, the difficulty of them, went through the roof. But then the ending of forms, like we're talking about, oh my goodness. There's nothing if you went back and looked at it. Where did the hand combos? Yeah, you're right. When did hand combos take over kicking? Wow, I totally set you up. Sorry. All right.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
But even then, if you go back and look at a random finish from 2001 of a form, and you look at a random finish today, same.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much.
Same.
The only difference, we saw more of.
Done.
Right. We saw more of back then though was the landing to a split, kip up, and landing in some type of crazy kip up thing. Right. That was a big thing from 2000 to 2005.
I'd say so. Yeah.
And then now I kind of went back to the jump, front kick, spin, hand, landing on your feet thing. Right. So. Yeah. So when did hand combos overtake kicking? We're talking about that. What, 2004? Let's just say 2004. When the split of creative forms. When did that happen though in fighting? Do we think it's around the same, or do we think it's around maybe 98, 99?
What is that in fighting?
Yeah.
Kip
ups are dead. He said kip ups are dead. Oh. I don't know.
Split kick to splits? Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah, I did that for a long time.
Doing like a jump double and then go to a split forward and back.
Yeah. And then I would do, remember I talked about this, I would do the split kick and then switch this way. So I would actually learn my split sideways. That was cool.
So and you would just do it and then drop. You do it and then do like a 180?
Yeah. Or like a half. And then Vinny did that as well. Vince Scarduzio did that as well and turned as well. So we were kind of playing off each other on that. What was the other one? Oh, the hardest one I did. I don't know if people can find this. I think it's Tournament News Online. You can find it. New England Open 2011, maybe 12. And I did the scissor kick into a split. So I did the scissor kick and I switched my legs and I landed into a split sideways. That was the hardest fall ever, I believe. Yeah.
But see, look at what you just described. I've never thought of these things, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I remember, so we were talking about kip ups. Take a guy like Nick Bagley. When he would do a kip, he'd do a kip into like a shoulder handstand kick where he'd go onto his shoulder, do that, and then he'd spin out into a hand combo. Like that is incredibly creative, right? Like that's very different. The kip ups, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be difficult all the time. It doesn't have to be something that's incredibly difficult, because if the move that was going to beat everybody was the most difficult, then you just look at it and go, well, Michael Guthrie's here. Game is over.
Right.
Game's over.
Here's the problem. And I love Michael Guthrie, but even Michael Guthrie, after he did a triple cork, would randomly do a round off flash. Like, why? Like, like you don't need that, bro. Nick did flares.
The flares.
But you know what? That's something that I miss as well. Like, we don't see as much the capoeira and that was a cool thing, man. Like, oh man, who was it? Butch Marks. He did like the K kick into his 540, right? The opposite direction, one direction or the other. There's a lot of guys that did that back in the day. Ben Jones did that
into like a reverse flare too.
Right. Ben Jones, Ben Brown would do that as well. I'm sure Ben Jones can do it, and he needs to do it with his bow. That would be sick. Just give him an idea.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just yes, he did much more than triples. I know that. All right. But yes, I think that I don't have any problem with hand combos. I like hand combos, but I think when that's the main thing you're looking for in creative forms, I think that's an issue, right? That shouldn't be the main thing that you're looking for. You should be looking for the whole form, creativity in hands and everything, diversity. That's we have a path of that. I think a lot of it though is the explosiveness, right? Whose form is the most explosive?
And I think identifying what we're talking about when we're saying explosive is important. Take forms back in the 90s. In no way am I saying forms in like the mid 90s are better than they are today. No way. Right? Now take the highest end forms like the Carmichaels, Chats, Valeras, even David Douglas. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking
Jimmy
about
Pham.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about your average guy, your average competitor, was extremely explosive from point A to point B, just pow, pow.
Mm-hmm.
And what did we start out the show with when you were talking about learning how to do them from jumps? Well, everyone was a skilled martial artist from their martial arts school.
Yep.
Enter tournament. Okay. Now we did such a great job of exposing people to tournament culture. Okay. Not just the rules, tournament culture. Here's what they do over here. Here are some, because in your school, you may not have known. These are the types of forms that they do. Oh, okay. Let's learn how to do that. And then now when they come in, they do it. People will say like, oh, the way, the NASCA way, right?
Yeah. A lot of people say
and we use the term NASCA in a positive way, in the sense that right now it's the best circuit that there is. There's not a better circuit in the States, right? NASCA is the best, right? They have the highest highs. They have the best competitors. Okay. Don't side eye me, Jeff. They got the best competitors.
I didn't say anything. I know. It depends on where you go. No, like people say NASCAfy like forms in a lot of ways. People say NASCAFI in
Totally.
traditional, it means completely something different than
Oh, yes.
doing it like NASCA or even fighting like NASCA. You know, like in AAU, they don't say sport karate uniforms. They say, "Oh, is that the new NASCA uniform?" I was like, "Wait, what? You mean sport karate or it's or kickboxing or or walk, like it's interesting with that."
So I think being actually explosive, like powerful, I think you go back a number of decades ago that were actually more powerful. Now,
yeah,
cleanliness of techniques, and we've cleaned up techniques to the best possible way. Yeah, I think they're pretty damn explosive today. I mean, you look at like your average competitor today would have been an absolute legend and icon, 25 years ago. I think they'd just be like, oh my goodness, what are we looking at? You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm. I think.
You don't agree with
Well, I think stances have gotten worse, actually, especially in creative forms, like really bad. And it's not even focused on because most of the judges now, even in traditional, don't look at feet. Don't look at the feet being on the ground. Don't look at the way the actual structure of the stance should be, the back leg washing, the heel and the blade coming up, rolling up. It's not just in,
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
and like gripping the ground with your toes. There's a lot of things like that that aren't as noticed. And I feel like like growing up, I mean, that's what would get me, that was the first thing they would tell you would be, your feet are moving, your feet are wiggling.
It was also easier to notice then. It was easier to notice because we were doing pop 720, finishing a pseudo chop.
Right.
So now it's like I'm standing in this position for an extended period of time. It's easier to tell if my knee is washed in or not.
True.
All right.
True.
So I will give judges credit that when that's happening, the people who are seeing that are the skilled eyes on the outside that probably should be judges.
Yeah. All right. So one thing we talked about, and we've talked about well, is like we want to see more jump kicks, right? And that I think is something that we don't see is jump kicking. This is how we're going to finish the show. All right. I didn't tell you we were doing this. Top 5 favorite jump kickers.
Oh, I'll tell you my number 1 right away.
Number 1, go.
Anthony Atkins.
Boom, Anthony Atkins out. Yeah, he would be up there in my top 5 as well. All right. Who's another one?
David Douglas.
Okay. Yeah, I would say so.
Let's see. Just jump, just pop. You're talking just jump kick. 2 feet, 1 foot, jump up and kick.
Boom. Yep, a jump kick.
Another great one is probably, I mean, he really only had like 2 of them that he did, but it was so high. I don't want to say it because I don't want to label it. He only did the 1 kick, which was Jason Borelli. He just did the 1.
But still, dude, his jump front kick is so hard to like not put him in.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
And he actually great technique with it too. He pulled his toes back and everything.
Yeah. No, I would say I would say Anthony Atkins, David Douglas, Jason Borelli. Chris was a good one. Chris was a really good jump kicker. There's someone as well that did some, and you may not even know him. He's actually more now famous as in the stunt world. But Ron Searles would jump so freaking high. All right, and he was an NBL guy back in the day. All right, he would jump up and do like when we talk about flare kick, like split leg, like it was like this, and he was doing it sideways, like it was crazy. Like his height on that was insane. Okay, he would have to be up there. And it's hard for me not to put John Valera in there in jump kicking, I
mean, one of the things that was great when he did it was his triple kick was great. That was a running kick.
Oh yeah,
but when he did the quadruple as well, then you're like, when he did the quadruple, I was like, yeah, all right. Okay.
Yeah, Brett, you're right. It was a jump spin split kick that he would do, and he would go like this, and it would be like this, and you do 3 in a row. That would just be like full out helicopter kicks. All right, it was sick. Here we go. We're getting some good ones. All right, so all right, Jerry's talking about the last thing. We'll get back to that. Quad kick. Yep, here we go.
Exactly.
All right, so Eric talks. Alex has a great point. Furniture now are much cleaner overall, better than 25 years ago. But how do they compare to the era of Matt Ebing, Mark C, and Rudy?
That's the best era.
Yeah, I mean, overall, that's a great one. All right, Jonathan. No, watch the patterns. They are all very similar. Big trick pass, section 1. Section 2, hands to get to the corner, flash kick to back, corner, simple hands to skip, jump front kick, or just hands, but high explosive pace. There we go. All right, who are some other ones, your favorite jump kickers, guys? I mean, like, I think when we got into that era of like Matt Ebing, Mark C, it became where they were still doing jump kicks, but it became more of the into the spins, into the corks, into the hyperfulls, into different things like that, right?
They were more of like the 3-trick combos. Like you could have a trick that didn't get that high, but you just did 4 different ones in sequence. And it's like, oh, damn, look at what I just did that. That's a bit different. But doing just a straight up jump and kick, that's different.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's someone I'm forgetting too that
was pretty good was Sterling, Daniel Sterling.
Daniel Sterling. There we go. Yep. That was a great one. Another one? Arnold Shawn.
Arnold Shawn's fantastic. It was great.
Yes.
That's a great point.
I mean, we're going back to the beginning. Pop 1080. There we go. And his individual 540s, his jump, the 360 gyro, right?
No.
There we go. Yeah, Marcel's the jump spin.
Marcel Jones,
the jump spin into the crescent. I remember that was 2009 U.S. Open when he pulled that out, and that was sick. That was also the first time I did the multiple kicks in a circle on my knee.
The other one I would say, oh gosh, it's just on the tip of my tongue. Dang it. Kim
There's
Do?
someone else. Yes, Kim Do. Because you know what? Again, my favorite move that he would do would be the running, jump, spinning back kick, split leg back kick, and he would stop his momentum. That was just sick, right?
I know who I was thinking. Chris Devera.
Yeah, Chris Devera. We talked about him recently as well.
Devera.
Yes, that was great.
That's a loop kicks dude right there.
Yeah, Devera was great. A lot of great ones. Yeah, I like that Esteban brought the crowd awakener back. Again, I think Esteban, it's hard to say he's underrated because he's winning everything, but I just think that there's so many things that he doesn't get brought up on, and he's amazing, right? It's kind of like growing up back in the day. Everyone on the circuit knew how amazing Jimmy Pham was, but we wanted to beat him, and that most people were fans of Butch. The competitors were fans of Butch, mostly because we wanted Butch Marks to win. That was it, But no one was taking away what Jimmy Pham did. Jimmy Pham was freaking amazing, right?
Because Butch,
and you go back and look at, he was a cool kid on the block, right? And you go back and look at Jimmy Pham's stuff, man, and you're like, wow, this is freaking creative. Like I've sent several people some videos of like, watch this. Someone needs to do this because no one has done it since. He
did a move. This is in 96, okay? In 96, when the coolest thing you could do was like a jump outside crescent, land, jump, pop up front kick. You're like, oh my gosh. Right?
Or a 540 hook, right? 540 land hook aerial, right?
This dude did jump outside crescent, land, flash kick.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
In place. And I'm like, wait, what? What did I just watch? Right?
And
he did it at the perfect angle because he did it. Because he did the jump, like wheel kick, outside crescent, whatever you want to call it. He did it straight at the judges, and then he landed. And so now when he's doing the flash, he's giving like a side view.
Side view is beautiful.
That's actually the best angle to do that. Not the corner to corner. That's the best place to do it.
It was cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was one of the best. And you know what? My favorite thing, or not favorite thing. There's so many things I love at Jimmy's, but how fast his aerial was insane. Okay, and I think I shared this one time, but he did that at the U.S. Open. I think it was '99. Okay, and he was doing it in commas, and he went so fast. When he went on the second one, his foot got caught up and slipped, and he like fell, and his comma like completely like twisted and broke off, like the top, like completely like twisted, like he couldn't even use it anymore. He had to get, because it was so bad, like, and it like twisted, the top twisted, and he had these like almost like he didn't have a wooden handle. He had like almost like a metal hand, yeah, like a titanium type hand. It was crazy.
He have like Ed Alor commas and nothing.
He might have gotten to him in the end, but I remember he had these ones that had like almost like what do you call it, graffiti style like commas. Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, this dude was
commas by Ed Alor. Those are the best commas. No, G-Force is the best, right?
Yeah,
but Ed Alor is just those commas were just very.
They were. All right, man. I feel like we had a great master's class. We need to do this again every now and then.
Yeah, I loved all the comments from the insiders. It was really helpful, really cool to see everybody chiming in too. Keep it
share
coming,
this
guys.
Tonight, and then also share it tomorrow when the podcast comes out. Because I think we can get a lot of good feedback and discussion on this. So the other thing, Wednesday, we will have a extra scoop, Peyton's extra scoop this Wednesday. So we're going to discuss her weekend at Rhode Island. She had a big weekend there. And then also
we're going to also this week or what?
Say again?
Said you're going to let me come on this time or what?
You can always come on, man.
Okay, cool.
You can always come on. That'll be at 9:30 on Wednesday, Eastern time. Yep. And then we're also talking about the weekend, the Knuckle Up Championships as well that happened over the weekend that she was at. So that Murphy was a part of putting on. So awesome job. And next week we are working on getting you a special guest. We're going to have a special guest on, someone from the past, someone kind of similar to what we've been talking about. Yep. So
what you got going on this weekend?
Belt testing week, man. We got everything going on. We got lots of belt tests and lots of seminars and all kinds of stuff. And then just getting prepared for Quebec after that. So Quebec City will be the next week after. So
you got a big like school belt exam.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, so it's a lot going on. Gonna be fun, but it's been great, man.
I'm headed back
How about you?
to Minnesota. I'm headed back to Minnesota this weekend, and I'm going to go to a black belt exam. So it's going to be all right. It's always good to go back to the roots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yep.
And then have people make fun of you because when you left, you were 180 pounds, and now you are not. Shut up, man.
That's funny.
I also didn't have any kids when I left.
That's funny. Oh, man. All right, guys.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. See you guys next week and see you Wednesday for Peyton's Extra Scoop.